Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and this stream is being recorded on, or is streaming on Monday, April 27th, 2026. I hope everybody's doing well and that everything is going okay with all the peeps out there. I have no delusions of grandeur. All 9 of you that are subscribed to my channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Let's see. We are still in the American League Central. I promise you that. I promise you, we are still in the American League Central. We do exist, and yeah. So we're still there. Let's see. Let's start out with the injury report. No news on Parker Meadows, or on Justin Verlander, or on Zach McKinstry. However, Connor Siebold did end up going on the injured list after Saturday's game, where he slipped and fell on the mound. I have not had a chance to look at the injury report to see what exactly that was for, but you could tell that he messed up his ankle. My guess is he's got some sort of sprained ankle or strained calf or something like that. But I'll have to look and see what the actual injury was. I'll get back with you next week on that, unless you go ahead and look at it yourselves, in which case then you do. So, with that being said, an interesting week. Detroit finished 3-3. Well, 3-4 for the week, because we started last Monday and ended yesterday, of course. And Detroit took it on the chin a couple times, 3 times as a matter of fact, and yet they still won a couple of very entertaining games against Milwaukee, and then of course the game yesterday against Cincinnati, where they put up 8 runs. And the reason I say that the games against Milwaukee were entertaining, you had a situation on Wednesday where Kenley Jansen threw 37 pitches in the top of the 9th to get the save, and the tying run was at the plate. Detroit won the game 5-3, and it was interesting because, you know, you get these huge long at bats that the Milwaukee Brewers put up, and you end up in a situation where, look, if there's anything that positive that can be taken from this weekend's last 2 games, it's that Kenley Jansen now has had 3 days off. He's had 3 days to recover from a 37-pitch inning on Wednesday, and then an inning in the Cincinnati, in the opener of the Cincinnati series, where, let's face it, he didn't pitch too well. He coughed up the lead. He gave up the game. You know, and I mean, he handled it the right way, but he spit the bit. And he didn't cast any blame on anybody. He didn't say, oh, well, you know, that was because of what happened on Wednesday. It was because of the weather. It was because of the bad pitching mound, which apparently all pitchers, anybody who has pitched at Great American Ballpark, has said, this mound is no good. This mound is garbage. Even Cincinnati's pitchers have complained about the mound at Great American Ballpark, which is, of course, where Connor Siebold got hurt. You know, he didn't complain about it. He just said, look, I blew it, and this is you know, the beauty of baseball is I get to go out there tomorrow and try again, and he will. But he didn't on Saturday because Detroit got waxed. Thank you, Jack Flaherty. And he didn't yesterday because Detroit was busy waxing Cincinnati. Thank you, Cater Montero and Spencer Torkelson and Hao-Yu Lee. How you doing, Hao-Yu? Hao-Yu Lee and well, that was it, I think. But Kerry Carpenter with a big day, a double and a triple, and Spencer Torkelson with three extra base hits, two doubles and a homer, and Hao-Yu Lee with his first major league home run, and Gleyber Torres with his second homer of the year. So it was a great game yesterday. Cater Montero pitched well. He needed to go 6 and he went 6. And then he needed to go 5 and he went 5. And then Brant Herter came in for the 6th and shut him down. And look, 5 innings and 3 runs is that's okay when your bullpen is wrecked, as it was because of a rain delay on Friday and Detroit's inability to score runs when they needed to. You have a situation again, and I'm pointing to this again because it's happened a couple times with Detroit this year, where they've had the bases loaded and nobody out. As a matter of fact, it happened in Minnesota. They had the bases loaded, nobody out, and they couldn't score. Teams average 2 runs a game, an inning when there's a bases loaded, no out situation. They average 2 runs in that situation. All it takes is a fly ball. All it takes is a fly ball. And you couldn't muster that. You get a fly ball and you get 1 run. You get a fly ball and the runner advances from second to third when the runner from third tags to go home. And then the second guy comes up and he hits a fly ball. So 2 fly balls, you've got 2 runs. That's all it takes. And it didn't happen. It's been twice this season. It's been a number of times going back through the years. This is something that has haunted Detroit for a long time. Offensively, they can't get it done in the big situations. And I know people sit there and say, "Oh, well, in 2024 they came from behind and won so many games in the bottom of the 9th and blah 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 blah." All right, but they wouldn't have to if the offense could perform the way it's supposed to. That being, how often do you see the Yankees come up with nobody out and the bases loaded and not score? How often do you see the Braves come up with nobody out and the bases loaded and not score? The Dodgers, the Cubs. These good teams, the Brewers. These good teams score with the bases loaded and nobody out. Detroit didn't do it twice this season, specifically in Cincinnati on Friday. If they score 2 runs, the league average, if they score 2 runs in that bases loaded, no one out situation on Friday, it's 7-3 after 6 innings. And that rain delay starts. And if the game progresses the way that it did, Kenley Jansen's coming out there with a 3-run lead instead of a 1-run lead, and he may not blow that save. They might win that game. You can't guarantee it, but it's a darn sight easier for a pitcher to pitch with a 3-run lead than it is with a 1-run lead. So anyway, courtesy of those 2 days that he didn't have to pitch, he's got 3 days off because Detroit has today off. And they start a series in Atlanta tomorrow night. against the best team in baseball, the first team to 20 wins, the Atlanta Braves. And then they come home and they finally get some American League, some league cooking, I suppose, home league cooking. They got Texas on over the weekend, and then Boston comes in on Monday. And Monday, I believe, is Star Wars night, of course, because it's May the 4th. So why wouldn't it be? Here's my thing. Here's my take for this week, and this is probably something that mirrors a lot of other podcasts. It's probably something that mirrors a lot of other sports talk hosts. I don't call myself a sports talk host. A lot of sports talk hosts. But it's also something that mirrors a lot of the fans. Why? Why are we still wasting time on Jack Flaherty? Because of what happened 2 years ago in the first half of the season? I think that was an outlier. I really think that was an aberration. Because look at what he did in the second half of 2024 with the Dodgers. He was okay, but he wasn't great. Look at what happened all year last year, and look at what's happening this year. The guy doesn't know where the strike zone is. He doesn't know where the strike zone is, and he doesn't know how to get himself back on track once things start going south. And you look, he walked 6 against Boston on Monday. I think he walked 8 on Saturday. I don't remember what the exact number was, but it was a huge number of walks. And of course, he gives up. You can't pitch with traffic. You just can't. You get a team that's like the Cincinnati Reds, and they make contact. Specifically, Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart. But up and down the line, that team makes contact. That team gets on base. And Jack Flaherty just doesn't have it anymore. He gave up 6 runs against St. Louis. He gave up 6 runs against Boston. And he gave up 6 runs against Cincinnati. Out of those 3 games, Detroit won 1. Because when he gave up the 6 runs against St. Louis, Detroit was up 7. Had scored 7 already. He's just not that good anymore. He never was. He had his first couple of seasons where he was dynamite in St. Louis. And then they couldn't deal with him anymore, so they shipped him off to Baltimore, where he was garbage there. Becomes a free agent. Detroit signs him. He does okay in the first half of the season. They flip him to L.A. He does quite well in the first half of the season against in Detroit. They flip him at the deadline. He's okay in L.A., but L.A. didn't want him back. L.A. knew what was going on. You think the Dodgers are a bad judge of talent? You think the Dodgers don't know what they're doing when it comes to pitching? You going to sit there and tell me that Scott Harris is smarter than Andrew Friedman? I don't think so. You going to sit there and tell me that Gabe Rivas is smarter than the director of pitching for LA? No. Gabe Rivas was with LA. And they let him go because they knew that somebody better was in-house. Gabe Rivas is good. Don't get me wrong. But are you going to tell me that he's smarter than the Dodgers people? I don't think so. If the Dodgers saw something in 2024 that didn't make them want to bring him back, why did Detroit seem to think that they could do something with what was left? And now you're stuck in the end of this contract because he took the player option last year. Oh, you can trade him at the deadline. You could possibly release him, but you got to eat the rest of that $20 million that you owe him for his player option. I don't think Chris Ilitch is about to do that. Detroit is stuck with Jack Flaherty until the end of the year. And as a result, we can look forward to at least one game a week, one game every 5 days, where the bullpen is going to be heavily taxed. Now, Keider Montero, Casey Mize, Tarik Skubal, and for the most part Framber Valdez have saved the bullpen for the days when Jack Flaherty pitches. Montero did it again yesterday. I'm hoping Casey Mize does it tomorrow. Honestly, I think Detroit could win this series against Atlanta. I don't think they're going to sweep them, but they could win the series. You've got Casey Mize going tomorrow night, Tarik Skubal going Wednesday night, and Framber Valdez going on Thursday. And I think that the two lefties can get it done. Framber can get it done against Atlanta. I know Skubal can. So they could win the series. And they'll have a well-rested bullpen because they had the day off today. Mize has been giving them 6 and 7 inning starts. And of course, Skubal and Valdez. Now, Valdez had a tough time on Friday. But I think that was just an aberration. I think he's going to be fine. His track record speaks for itself. You know, it's pretty sad when you can say, oh, Framber had a bad start, it's going to be okay. And then you look right down the line and you say, oh, Flaherty had a bad start, what else is new? That speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can. TigersBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. It's the world's longest email address. I'm proud of that. You can also get me on Twitter @PodcastTigers. You can get me on Mastodon @TBPodcast@tweezcake.social, or you can leave a comment here on the YouTube page, and I will respond to that as well. We will see you next week. Atlanta and Texas coming up this week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week. And as always, go Tigers.